Nothing that happens in your life is random. Reality follows patterns that most people don't notice, and that's exactly why this knowledge has reached you now. What you're about to discover isn't just another theory. It's something that can change the way you see life forever. The ancients knew this. Spiritual masters, philosophers, and scholars of the mind have always talked about an invisible boundary that separates those who live on autopilot from those who awaken to a higher level of consciousness. The problem? This knowledge has been distorted, hidden, and in many cases ridiculed so that only a few could access the true power of perception. And now the question is, are you ready to see beyond the veil? Throughout this video, you'll understand what a shift in consciousness really means and why so many people fail to achieve it, even after years of studying spirituality. You'll discover which forces shape your perception and how to reprogram your mind to break limiting patterns. And most importantly, you'll realize that the key to this transformation has always been within you. You just might not have known where to look. But before we continue, a warning. Once this truth is seen, it cannot be ignored. If you feel that something greater is waiting to be revealed, stay until the end, because what you're about to hear might change everything. You've always believed that you see the world as it really is, but what if everything you perceive is just a reflection of what already exists inside you? From the moment you were born, your mind was programmed to accept a single version of reality, a version designed to keep you within a predictable, controllable system. But what would happen if you started to see beyond it? The ancients already knew. What's inside you manifests on the outside. Hermeticism teaches, as within, so without. Buddhism speaks of Maya, the grand illusion that makes people believe the physical world is all there is. But few truly understand what this means. The truth is, you don't see reality. You see yourself projected onto it. If you carry insecurity, the world will seem full of threats. If you believe in scarcity, everything around you will feel difficult, limited. If you feel like you're not good enough, you will always find proof of it, because your mind searches externally for what it has already accepted as truth. Now, pay attention. Have you ever noticed how two people can go through the exact same situation and interpret it in completely different ways? This happens because it's not the situation that matters, it's how each person sees it. And here's the big secret no one told you. Your perception is shaping your life. Right now, you might be thinking, so all I have to do is change how I see things and my life will change. The answer is yes, but not in the way you were led to believe. Changing perception isn't just about thinking positively. It's not about repeating motivational phrases or pretending everything is fine when, deep down, you feel like it's not. It's about seeing what you've never seen before. It's about breaking the hidden patterns that make you repeat the same stories. And this is why so many people spend years studying spirituality, watching videos, reading books, but still stay stuck in the same place. They accumulate knowledge but don't perceive the truth. And there's a big difference between learning and perceiving. Learning is a rational process. You understand a concept, memorize the information, repeat what you've heard. But perception happens when information stops being just something you know and becomes something you feel, something that clicks inside you and changes the way you exist. And that shift happens in an instant. Suddenly, you see what has always been right in front of you but never noticed. You understand that certain fears, certain struggles, certain repeating patterns in your life aren't coming from the outside, they have always been within you. And what happens when you realize this? The game changes, because for the first time, you understand that it's not the world that needs to change, it's you. Think about it. Someone can explain to you what water tastes like, describe the feeling of diving into the ocean, or even detail how fire burns. But until you experience it, it's all just theory. Spirituality is the same thing. You can study energy, vibration, universal laws, and spiritual awakening. But if these teachings don't become a part of you, if they're not experienced and applied, they're just empty words. The problem is that many people become knowledge collectors. They constantly seek new information, thinking the key to their transformation is in the next video, the next book, the next teaching. But this cycle never ends. Why? Because knowledge without practice becomes an escape. It's easier to keep studying than to apply what you've learned, because applying means changing. And change requires facing what you've been avoiding for years. It means stepping out of your comfort zone, letting go of beliefs, breaking patterns, and most of all, accepting that transformation doesn't happen in the mind. It happens through direct life experience. Reality responds to what you are, not what you know. If the knowledge you've accumulated so far hasn't impacted your reality, it's because you haven't truly felt it yet. It stayed on the surface. It was understood, but not lived. Now, look at your life. What still feels unclear? What keeps repeating like an endless cycle? What makes you feel stuck? The answer to all these questions isn't in another video, another book, or another theory. It's within you, and maybe it's time to finally see it. Breaking the invisible chains. And this is where we dive into the deepest part of the illusion. You don't realize you're trapped because the chains are invisible. Everything you believe about yourself, about the world, about what's possible or impossible, was placed inside you before you even had the chance to question it. Since childhood, you've absorbed beliefs without even noticing. And today, without realizing it, you're still living within them. They define your choices, shape your relationships, and set your limits. You might even feel like something is holding you back, but you can never quite see what it is. Because this prison has no walls. It exists only in your mind. But how do you escape a prison you can't even see? Before answering that question, you need to understand how these chains were placed on you, and, more importantly, why they seem so hard to break. Limiting beliefs aren't easy to recognize because they were installed before you even knew how to question them. They come from parents, school, and society. They grow with you and become part of your identity. And the problem isn't just that you believe in them. The problem is that you don't even realize they're beliefs. You think they're facts. Let me share a powerful story with you that will help you understand how our beliefs work and what they can do to our minds. Pay attention. Deep in an ancient forest, there was a group of baby eagles that had been born inside a wooden cage. They had never seen the open sky, never felt the wind beneath their wings. To them, that small space was the entire world. Every day, they watched other birds flying freely through the trees, but when they asked why they couldn't do the same, the oldest among them said, "We weren't made to fly. Our ancestors tried and failed." And so, the baby eagles grew up believing that. Until one day, a storm destroyed the cage. For the first time, they were free. The sky was right in front of them. The wind was calling them. But to everyone's surprise, none of them tried to fly. They stayed on the ground, looking up, feeling the instinct in their bodies, but too afraid to spread their wings. Until one of the young eagles, more curious than the others, wandered away. As he walked, he saw a falcon perched on a branch. The falcon looked at him and asked, "What are you doing down there?" The young eagle replied, "We can't fly. That's what we've always been told." The falcon laughed. "Who told you that?" "Everyone, since the day we were born." The falcon spread his wings and soared in circles above the young eagle. "Look at your wings. They're just like mine. You have everything you need. You just have to remember." The young eagle looked at his own wings, feeling his heart race. He wanted to fly. He had always wanted to. But what if he fell? What if he got hurt? The falcon landed beside him and said, "You can stay on the ground for the rest of your life, or you can find out if what they told you was really true." For a moment, the world stood still, and then, without thinking, the young eagle flapped its wings. First with fear, then with strength, until in a single motion, it felt its body lift off the ground, and in that moment it realized it had never been trapped. It only believed it was. Now, look at your life. What beliefs were placed inside you and accepted as absolute truths? What were you taught was impossible, but you never even questioned? How many times have you wanted to take a leap into the unknown, but held back out of fear? The truth is, nothing is holding you back except the invisible chains you reinforce every day. You've finally realized that the chains keeping you trapped were never real. You've seen that your reality has been shaped by beliefs you never consciously chose. But now comes the most important question. What is actually keeping you stuck? Because simply knowing the prison exists isn't enough. Many people realize they're chained, but they still stay in the same place. Why? What is stopping you from changing? Fear of the unknown. The false security of what's familiar. The truth is, transformation doesn't happen because you're not yet willing to pay the price of freedom. And that price is called responsibility. Most people say they want change. They want a new life, new opportunities, and expanded consciousness. But what they don't realize is that with this evolution comes a weight that few are ready to carry. Because being free means there's no one left to blame. It means that when your life isn't the way you want it to be, there will be no more excuses. It won't be the government. It won't be your family. It won't be your past. It will be you. And that terrifies a lot of people. It's easier to believe that this is just how life is, that destiny is already written, that you have no control over what happens, because as long as you believe that, you don't have to take responsibility for your transformation. But here's the truth that can change everything. The responsibility of expansion is heavy, but the reward is infinite. Imagine your mind as an operating system. For years, you've been running the same program, filled with automatic commands. You've been conditioned to act, think, and feel in a specific way. You've been taught to fear change, to avoid risks, to follow predictable paths. But who said you have to keep running the same program? Neuroscience proves that the brain is plastic. It can be rewired. Old habits can be erased. New pathways can be created. Spirituality has always known this, and now science confirms it. You can reprogram your mind and create a new reality. But here's the problem. Change requires letting go. And letting go is terrifying because it means abandoning not just limiting beliefs, but the identity you built around them. If you've always believed you don't deserve success, what happens when you start to grow? If you've always seen yourself as a victim of circumstances, who will you be when you take control? The mind resists because that means killing off an old version of yourself. And that's why so many people sabotage themselves. Because deep down, they're not afraid of failing. They're afraid of succeeding, not knowing how to handle it. Now, look at yourself with honesty. What in your life is still running on autopilot? What do you know you need to change, but haven't found the courage to face? Are you willing to let go of the beliefs that limit you to access new possibilities? Because in the end, the choice has always been and will always be in your hands. The power of the chakras and the third eye. You've already noticed that the world around you reflects what you believe to be true. You've understood that your beliefs shape your reality and that the fear of change often keeps you stuck. But there's something even deeper. You don't perceive what isn't aligned with your vibration. Since ancient times, cultures around the world have understood that human perception doesn't come just from the rational mind, but also from the energetic field that surrounds us. The sages of the East, the shamans of ancient tribes, and the initiates of mystery schools all knew that the human body is an energy system. And within this system, there are centers that govern not only our health, but also our connection to reality and our expansion of consciousness. These centers are known as chakras. Your chakras work like portals, regulating the flow of energy between your body and the universe around you. When they're balanced, you experience clarity, vitality, and a deep connection with life. When they're blocked, your perception shuts down, and you feel lost, confused, and disconnected. But there is one chakra in particular that can change everything. The third eye, located at the center of your forehead, between your eyebrows. The third eye is the gateway to vision beyond the physical. It represents expanded perception, deep intuition, and the ability to see beyond the illusions of matter. Esoteric traditions teach that when this center is activated, you perceive reality in a completely different way. Synchronicities increase, the hidden patterns of life become obvious, Intuition sharpens, guiding you down paths that once seemed invisible. And here's the most interesting part. You already have this power, but it was put to sleep. Throughout life, we were taught to trust only what can be seen and measured. We were programmed to believe that intuition is irrational, that the unseen isn't real, that anything that can't be explained should be ignored. But what seems supernatural today will be as real as the air you breathe tomorrow. The question isn't whether this power exists, it's whether you're ready to access it. And this takes us to another level of understanding. You already know that your reality is shaped by your beliefs, but what if I told you that this is just the surface of something much bigger? The ancient masters knew that the universe isn't just matter, it is consciousness, it is mind, and everything that exists began as a thought. This is what Hermetic teachings call the law of mentalism. Everything in the universe is first created in the mind. Your body, your emotions, your experiences, everything is a manifestation of the mental field. If you vibrate fear, insecurity, and doubt, your reality will reflect that back to you. If you vibrate confidence, clarity, and expansion, your reality will respond in the same way, because reality doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. And here's something few people understand. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. If deep down, you believe you don't deserve abundance, the universe will respect that frequency. If you see yourself as weak, the world around you will mirror that weakness. But if you start vibrating differently, everything around you will change. This isn't theory. This is a universal principle. Transformation begins within you. The question is, what are you choosing to vibrate at this moment? The key to the shift in consciousness? Reality is already right in front of you. The answers you're looking for aren't hidden. They're not in some distant future. And they're not in some secret knowledge you still need to discover. They've always been here. So why do so many people go through their entire lives without waking up? What really separates those who expand their consciousness from those who stay trapped in illusion? The key to a shift in consciousness isn't in collecting more knowledge, it's in how you perceive reality. Awakening doesn't happen just because you read something deep, watched a life-changing video, or had an epiphany. Awakening happens when you train your mind to see beyond distortions, and that training begins with the daily practice of active perception. What is active perception? Active perception is the ability to observe your own experience without filters, without judgment, and without fear. It means noticing your thoughts before reacting. It means recognizing your patterns before they dictate your actions. It means seeing reality as it is, not as your mind has been programmed to see it. This requires presence. Most people live on autopilot. They don't choose their thoughts happen to them. They don't control their emotions control them, but when you start practicing active perception, something shifts. You begin to notice what was once invisible. You start seeing the hidden patterns that have always shaped your life. You recognize the exact moments when your mind tries to pull you back into the old narrative. And it's in that instant, in that space between stimulus and reaction, that the shift in consciousness happens. Because when you perceive, you have a choice. You can keep reacting the same way you always have, or you can choose something new. That is true liberation. How to practice a shift in consciousness in your life. Now that you understand the key, let's bring it into practice. Here are 3 simple exercises that, if done daily, will start rewiring your perception and lead you to a real shift in consciousness. The silent observer. Throughout the day, take moments to simply observe your thoughts and emotions without judging them. Don't try to change anything. Just notice how your mind works, which patterns repeat, which emotional triggers arise. The more you observe, the more self-awareness you gain. The golden question. Whenever you feel a strong emotion or a limiting thought arise, ask yourself, is this true? Or is it just a reflection of what I've believed for a long time? This one question alone can dismantle patterns that have kept you trapped for years. The conscious pause. Before reacting to any situation, stop for a few seconds and take a breath. That short space of time between stimulus and response is where transformation happens. When you consciously choose your reaction, you stop being a prisoner of old patterns. Why does this work? Because everything you need to wake up is already inside you. You don't need more knowledge. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need to be more evolved. You just need to start perceiving. Perceiving what has always been there, but your mind has kept you from seeing. Now tell me, are you willing to look beyond the illusion? Because reality doesn't change on its own, but the moment you change your perception, everything around you starts to shift. You already understand that reality shapes itself according to your perception. You've realized that your mind creates the filters through which you see the world. But there's still something that stops many people from making the final leap, waiting for the perfect moment. How many times have you felt the need to change, but pushed that decision aside? How many times have you waited for a sign, a teacher, an external confirmation to finally take action? This happens because, on some level, we've been conditioned to believe that transformation comes from the outside. That one day, someone or something will appear and guide us to awakening. But the truth is simple and direct. No one is coming to save you. The illusion of a savior is one of the biggest obstacles on the path to consciousness. Because as long as you believe something external needs to happen for your life to change, you give up your own power. And what happens? You wait. You wait for the right day, the perfect opportunity, the guru who will show you the way. But that day never comes, because the only real moment has always been now. If not now, when? The greatest teacher you could ever find is already inside you. That voice within you, the one that pushes you to grow, that makes you question, that nudges you beyond what's comfortable. That is your true essence calling you. And the question that really matters isn't whether you will wake up. It's whether you will finally listen to that voice or keep ignoring it. Now, you know you've always had the power. You know transformation doesn't depend on anything but your own decision. But knowing isn't enough. The real question now is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Because there's a safe, comfortable, predictable path. Going back to the illusion. Pretending this information never reached you. Continuing to consume content without applying any of it. Believing that one day, maybe, something external will wake you up. Or, there's the other path. The path of those who take full ownership of their existence. Of those who choose to take the leap, even without guarantees, even without certainty, even without knowing exactly where it will lead. Because awakening isn't a destination, it's a process. There's no finish line, no diploma that certifies you've awakened. There is only the constant decision to see beyond the illusion, and that decision must be made every single day. Now look within. Do you really want to live in truth? Or do you prefer the comfort of what's already familiar? The portal is open. Whether you step through it or not, that's up to you. Before you go, there's something really important waiting for you. I've prepared a special video that dives even deeper into everything we've talked about here and shows you exactly how to apply this knowledge in your life in a real practical way. So don't leave just yet. Click the video on the screen now and I'll meet you there.